Welcome to the Dancing Dialogues. I'm Nikita Krishnan, a professional belly dancing artist and your host for this show. Dance is more than just what you see on the stage. It's the sweat and hard work behind every dance performance, untold stories, and dedication of dancers. Through this podcast, we bring you those behind the scenes moments, connecting you with dancers' journey that any videos or posts can't. So let's go beyond the spotlight and truly experience the world of dance together. In today's episode, I'm joined by Shruti Narayanan Arun, an internationally acclaimed performer, choreographer, and director of Samai Oriental Dance Company. Raised in Saudi Arabia, trained in Bharatanatyam, and deeply rooted in Egyptian dance culture, Shruti brings a rare blend of structure, scholarship, and soul to her work. We talk about growing up between cultures, dancing to live music in Egypt, and why understanding history and context is non negotiable for today's belly dancer. This conversation goes far beyond technique, it's about legacy. Shruti, I am someone who has deeply admired your work in the field of belly dancing,
Thank
and
you.
who's always been inspired by so much contribution that you have given us in this country. So I would like to start off this podcast by talking about your formative years in Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
Because Saudi Arabia is also the part of the Middle Eastern culture studies, I would like to understand how is it living in the Saudi Arabia and how is the people and the culture over there, and as we hear, it's like a very restricted, right? Like the news that we hear from there. So how are women over there? Are they really restricted? Do they love to dance? I want to hear about that.
So I was in Saudi Arabia for 16 years. That's quite a large chunk of my life. And you're right, the country was slightly restrictive at that time, especially with laws for women and stuff like that. Women weren't allowed to drive. If they had to walk out somewhere, they had to be accompanied by a male member from the family or something like that. But overall, I'd say that it shaped a lot of world views for me, because in spite of being such a country that had a very closed, restrictive economy, and it's a kingdom, right? It still is a kingdom. It's the kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Women had a lot of bylaws and stuff like that. In spite of that, it was actually quite cosmopolitan. There were many, many Americans, many Europeans, lots of Indians, lots of Pakistanis, lots of Bangladeshis. So growing up in an environment like that gives you a world view from the start. And we had Pakistani neighbors. So we were very friendly with them and they were very friendly with us. We had people from China who were living in Saudi Arabia, like downstairs. So we had a lot of people around us, and that tends to put you in a place where you have to step out, you have to interact with other cultures, mingle, and you really get to know how it works, right? So I thought being in Saudi Arabia, in spite of, contrary to what people actually think about the place, gave me a lot of freedom here. Learning different things, mixing with different people, and extremely hospitable. Saudi folk are extremely hospitable. They loved Indians. They treated us with so much of respect, and we obviously have our festivals, our culture, and all that we bring with us, right? Very non-interfering. So it really gave us the space to be. My parents were there in Saudi Arabia for 20 years before I went there.
Wow.
So yeah, they've been there the longest, to a point where my dad could fluently speak the language.
Oh, so he knew Arabic?
Yeah. He was very fluent with Arabic, reading, writing, speaking. It was mandatory for me in school as well.
Right.
That was one of the subjects I had to learn as a child, and learned it up to 8th grade. So anything that I understand in the music that we dance to today, I can attribute it to some of the learning that I had when I was in school. But overall, it was such a fantastic time to grow up in Saudi Arabia. I used to come back to India for my holidays, my school holidays, And there were certain people who'd come and meet us, and then they'd be like, "Oh, you're in Saudi Arabia, right? We're so sorry." And we'd be like, "Why?" There's this
Notion,
perception.
yes,
There's
yes.
this perception, right? But truly, in all honesty, I don't think I could have had a better upbringing. I studied in an Indian school for the first 10 years of my life, and then I was shifted to a British school.
Oh, okay.
So for the most part, all the way up to my high school and my 12th standard, I studied the British curriculum. So when we came back to India, which was somewhere in 2004, 2005, it was really hard for me to find a school that had the IGCSE syllabus, because we were like, okay, where do we go now? And turns out there was only one school at that time. So I had to, I was put in Indus, and that's how things went from there. But Saudi Arabia gave me so much. It gave me Bharatanatyam.
Yes, I wanted to talk about Bharatanatyam.
Yeah.
How did they perceive our cultural dances, and did you also get to see their cultural dances in festivals, events?
Yeah.
And were there foreigners and locals also learning Bharatanatyam along with you?
Surprisingly, there were no festivals or events where I could see social dances that came from Saudi. Very, very, like I said, very closed economy, very closed family spaces. Maybe if we were invited to a wedding, and we were invited. I remember as a child being invited to two of my dad's colleagues' weddings, and that's where I saw people doing what we understand as debke today. So that was the first time I saw something along those lines. And then I saw some community dancing, social dancing, but didn't really have any sort of a connection to maybe what would have been perceived as cultural for them. So it was not very specific. It was just mostly like, oh, you and I are in this space together, we're going to be dancing together. But I remember watching Debke. Of course, I didn't know it back then, but now when I make that connection, I'm like, oh, okay, that's what I saw, that's what I witnessed. But of course, we went for a Palestinian wedding in Saudi.
Okay.
So it was part of their culture that they, brought on stage back then. But Bharatanatyam, very large Indian population in Saudi, very large South Indian population there.
Oh, wow.
So it was very easy for us to find a teacher, and obviously because we have all of these associations, like there's a Malayali association, there is a Tamil association, there's a Gujarati association,
There's
Kannada association. It's like a mini India.
India.
I'm telling you, anywhere you go in Saudi Arabia, even today in the Middle East, it's a mini India. You'll know this. If you go to Dubai or someplace even today, every third person is an Indian or a Pakistani or a Bangladeshi, right? So it was very easy for us to spot one association, and we're like, okay, Tamil association, they had one teacher who happened to come from Kalakshetra.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so she also lived in Saudi Arabia. She's still there. She's still in Saudi Arabia, if I understand that correctly. And she was from the Kalakshetra Institute, a gold medalist from there, and she started classes. And I was put in my first class at 3.
At the age of 3?
At the age of 3. Yeah,
Wow.
at the age of 3. When I didn't, my mom makes this joke, it's an internal joke. You didn't know how to talk properly, like form sentences properly, but you could do the adavus and stuff, and you were always very interested to do it. So I was like, oh, okay.
She knew it. She knew that you would be a dancer one day.
Yeah, absolutely. Some foresight my parents had, so yeah.
But did you enjoy Bharatanatyam? Like, if you don't know, Shruti also has been trained in Bharatanatyam, and I think you've also given your own arangetram here in Bangalore, or was it?
No, that was in Saudi.
Wow, that's a memory to remember.
Yeah, I did my arangetram in Saudi. A lot of people find that funny, but yeah.
That's beautiful. So I would like you to talk a little bit about your journey into Bharatanatyam.
Yeah. So my foray into Bharatanatyam, the Kalakshetra style, was at the age of 3. I absolutely hated it. The first, I think, 5-6 years, I was like, why am I doing this? Why is my mom putting me in classes? And it would be a daily thing, right? Like I'd come back from school, and then the next 2 hours would be, go for dance class, come back, then study for 2 hours. So it was that sort of a schedule. So I hated it because I was like, okay, I don't want to do this. But apparently, I was very diligent with my practice. I would still come back, I would keep a face, but I'd practice. I'd be like, no, the teachers asked me to practice, so I'm going to do it. But internally, I remember feeling like I was forced to do it. I think I started understanding the beauty, appreciating the nuances of Bharatanatyam when I was about 8 or 9. And it really started to appeal to me because back then, especially if you're somebody from an Indian classical background, they don't put you on stage immediately. They give you time to really develop your skill, and that's respectful for them. Like from the Indian classical perspective, you need to learn the entire syllabus, and usually that's anywhere between 8 to 10 years. Right, for a person, it's that long, like the investment is that long in the learning. So your debut is what is understood as the Arangetram or the Ranga Pravesha, as we call it here. Right, so that shift happened when I was about 8 or 10 because I attended one of my seniors' Bharatanatyam performances. I remember sitting there and she looked radiant. She was wearing green and pink. I remember her costume also because that left an impression. And I was like, wow, this is art. She looked like a temple sculpture moving around on stage, and I was like, oh, this is what I do. This is what I do in class. I mean, of course, we wear a salwar and a dupatta and all that, but it didn't hit me till that point. And that day, something shifted because the next day when I went for class, I remember this is a core memory for me. I remember going and touching my guru's feet and I was like, I'm ready to take this ahead, forward, in whatever way you think it. And I think I must have said something philosophical back then because she had tears in her eyes. I don't remember what I said. But she's like, I can see that shift. I can sense that shift come. And from that point on, Nikki, I remember my schedule. It was 5 days a week, 3 hours every day. Just Bharatanatyam every day. Like back then, 8 years old. And by the time I hit 15, I was ready for my Arangetram.
Oh wow, so you gave your first
Yes.
Arangetram at the age of 15?
At the age of 15.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and that was a big deal
Didn't know about
then
this. Yeah.
because usually they wait a little longer, like till you're about 17 or 18.
Yes, I've heard about that.
Yeah, they wait because it's imperative, especially for Indian classical dances, the sort of nuances you get with your expression, your face, your body language, it's slightly mature, especially when you're depicting concepts like love, detachment, sorrow. They're heavy for a teenager and for a young child, right? So that took a little bit of time, but eventually my teacher was like, okay, you're ready. You know, I can gauge that you're ready. So what we did was, we were still in Saudi. I was still, preparing for my 9th and my 10th. And my teacher was like, listen, it's a crucial time in your life. You decide, because of course 9th boards, 10th and everything, right? So she's like, you decide, you want to do it now, you want to do it when you're 17 or 18. But we knew that we were going to move out of Saudi Arabia because things were starting to get a little, around that time, politically things were starting to get a little difficult. And my dad was also like, we've had a good run, let's move back to India, I want to retire in India. So I was like, no, I feel good. I feel like I can do this right now. Let's do it. And that entire 1.5 years of prep for my Arangetram, every day 6 hours from that point. It was 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the evening, before school, after school, between board exam prep. It was insane. And then finally the day came when, we had to decide on the venue. Now it's a little difficult in Saudi. It's not like you can go and book a auditorium and, it's not very public like that. So you need to get special permission from, especially if you're an Indian, you need to get permission from the consulate and stuff like that. So there's a very long procedure which my parents had to go through. Eventually I ended up dancing in the Indian consulate.
Whoa.
So that's where my Arangetram happened, in front of a lot of dignitaries. who were basically...
It was meant to be for you. After 1.5 years of
Yeah, I was
constant
like,
hard
what?
work.
Because they were basically the Indian representatives to the,
Right.
to the kingdom there. And I was like, okay. I didn't realize the importance of that back then, but basically we were the first Bharatanatyam performance to have ever happened in the Indian consulate in Saudi back then, in Saudi, not even in Jeddah, in Saudi. So we were like, okay. And ever since that happened, there have been more Arangetrams that have happened because they've opened doors to it. They're like, listen, we love it, let it happen there. So that was a journey by itself for me, and I'll never forget the day because that's when I actually professionally debuted on stage for the first time. So
How did it feel, being in the backstage, not knowing that this gonna like blow up and it gonna be a huge show? What did you feel inside? What did the teenager Shruti felt like before going on the stage for the very first time?
honestly, I was blank. The previous day, we had this huge, it's like a wedding, right? It's like a wedding without the groom. That's what prep for an Arangetram is always like. You have a puja, you have some people who come in, they give you, your Salanga puja and all that. They put the thing around your leg and they're like, you're ready. It's a big ritual, it's a big process. And there's a whole day for mehendi. We have to put mehendi.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, it's the traditional design, obviously, but it's like you're prepping for a wedding without the guy. So the previous day itself, I was zombieing out, and I was like, listen, I don't know what's going to happen. And plus, my legs, I think at that point, had already become numb because of so much of dancing. 1.5 years of dancing, I was like, okay, I've prepared for this all my life. All the adrenaline was stored here, so it just got numb. I remember backstage, I broke down before going on stage. And you know how Bharatanatyam makeup is. It's caked. And sorry, not to demean anybody, but back in the day, not very great makeup artists or anything. So we had like makeup being caked all
Painted
over. Yeah, it's and my face was white, my neck was brown. It's literally like that. So, and I broke down. So all my makeup was like
washed away with tears.
And my teacher was like, why are you crying right now? Don't cry right now. It's okay. It's fine. But yeah, so they had to redo my makeup. My hair was in place and all that. I remember feeling extremely hot that day because it was an outdoor performance, not an indoor performance. And Saudi Arabia is known to be incredibly hot. So it was 41 degrees the day I performed. And they had to put like coolers on the stage just so that I wouldn't faint or something. And oh my God, it was hot. I remember not remembering anything before going on stage, and then I remember the vote of thanks. Everything in between.
You don't remember.
Absolutely no memory of. I just have pictures of me in different poses and videos of my performance, but I'm like, I did that? I don't remember doing that. I blanked out. Completely blanked out, and I remember the audience count, it was 702.
Wow, 702. So I think those challenges already had prepared you what's gonna come to you in the coming years.
Yeah, I felt like the entire Indian community just showed up just out of nowhere, and it was like an amphitheater, right? So I could see across the hall. I was like, that's a lot of people. That's crazy. And 702 for an Arangetram is ridiculous. I was like, this is probably going to be the biggest moment of my life.
But did you feel all this during the performance? Like you
No.
told that you were blank.
No, I was blank.
But this was all after.
Yeah, this was all after. I realized it after. I was like, this was probably the biggest moment of my life. And I don't remember a single thing about it, except that I went on stage. The funny thing is, I got off stage because my last act was 27 minutes on stage. That
so
particular
then how
piece.
long was your
Arangetram was 2.5 hours.
You danced continuously for that long? Crazy.
I danced back to back for 2.5 hours. Of course, we had a break in between. So it was 5 acts, a break of 15 minutes, and then another 5 acts, and then a special act, and then a tilana at the end. That tilana was 27 minutes long. And I was like, I could feel that my body was numbing out. This is the funny bit. I got off stage and I collapsed. I just fainted. I fainted. And turns out that I had low BP or something at that point. And they were like, oh my God, she's stretched out. Because it was hot.
Right.
41 degrees.
Yes.
702 people. In a city where I've probably not met those 702 people who've just come in because they're like, oh, some Indian performance is happening. With so much makeup, so much jewelry, performances that averaged anywhere between 8 minutes to 27 and 24 minutes. I was like, okay, this is... And then I realized, the next day I realized, I was like, okay, that was the biggest moment of my life and I just let it go, pass by. But I still remember every detail of the pre and the post even today.
Wow, this was so nice to hear because I didn't know this part of your life. You know. So coming back to Bharatanatyam again, you know, you have gone through that rigorous method of learning in Bharatanatyam, and now in belly dancing, it's more fluid in nature.
Right.
So what do you know, think could be better for us in belly dancing, you know, and what could be, you know, like, I know rigorous method is no more approachable now, but like, what would you suggest?
Look, I think with belly dance, right, I feel like I've always felt this from the start, and it's this is not anybody's fault or anything. It's just that I come from a background where everything has a structure.
Right.
Everything has a disciplined approach in terms of how many years it's going to take you to, you know, do something. There's a certain level of respect also. You don't see people going into a Bharatanatyam class for fitness.
Right.
Right. So they treat it with a certain level of, even Odissi, Kathak, all these classes, right? If you're getting into it, it's serious training, default. Of course, now they've opened up more opportunities for adults to join in, for people to come in all of the classes you have today. Earlier, it was mostly about putting your kids from a very young age, and they're the ones that sort of, you know, take it through. With belly dance, of course, it's something that cannot be codified. We don't know the beginnings and the ends of it.
Right.
There's a lot of talk about where it started, how it started, a lot of interplay of different countries, politics, geopolitics, sociopolitics. So it's very difficult to pinpoint and say, okay, this is a good start point, so let's codify it from here. And how do you codify it? It's something that's a product of many global cultures, right? Belly dance by itself does not come from a singular place. It's the influence of the West, it's the perceptions of, you know, the Americans, the Europeans. You have borrowed concepts from India, you have cultures that are fused in, and then you see a final product on stage. So how do you codify it? So I guess the only approach as teachers today that I think maybe could possibly change or affect how belly dance is being taught tomorrow is if, and because there's nobody that's claimed stake to it, right? I'm not saying you should claim stake to it or I should, is we can maybe try to find a more disciplined approach in terms of how your modules are created, in terms of how long each thing should be, how students should approach the art, because see, there's a lot of fusion going on, which is great. Like I said, it's a global product and change is the only constant. And we come from a culture where, you know, we are closely tied to all of our local cultures, our local songs, music, whatever. So we try to make it fit, right? But what I'm trying to say is you can make it fit after you've learned your ABCs, right? You learn the alphabet before you start stringing it into a sentence. What's happening in our industry is also because of the Instagram wave. We have a lot of people who've...
We would need another day to just talk about that.
Please have another episode just for this. Not saying that that's a wrong thing. That's probably people just jumping on the bandwagon, right? Everybody wants an opportunity. Everybody should have that opportunity. But then again, it becomes diluted. When you tend to have information being passed out without proper training yourself, or without understanding the nuances yourself, what you're doing is essentially you're creating more and more mediocrity. And I think that's what our industry suffers from. With a great deal of respect, we suffer from a lot of mediocrity because it's mediocrity breeds mediocrity, right? And it's not because one person thinks that it should be done a certain way or the other person thinks it should be done another way. No, it's because of your own lack of effort. If tomorrow you wanted to really push your boundaries and figure out a way, because we're representing another culture entirely.
Yes.
We don't belong to this culture. We don't even know where it comes from to start with.
Yes.
But here we are trying to paint a picture of what could be. Also appropriating, getting into the space of appropriation even without meaning to get into that space. So that's a little bit of a, in my opinion, that can change. And that really begins with us. It really begins with you wanting to make that change, recognizing that this doesn't come from your culture. You wouldn't like somebody going and doing a half-baked job with Odissi or Kathak, right? You would take offense. The great thing is, a lot of people in Egypt, I've been there some 3 times, they don't really care.
Yeah.
They have a love-hate relationship with belly dance themselves. So it's like, at least people know us because of it. For them, it's mostly about pushing tourism, pushing people to get to come back to their country to see or visit them, right? So for them, it works. But what are they doing to really preserve it? Not a lot. So they're like, no, we're okay with whatever the world does with it. Of course, we cannot play savior here because we are totally out of the context.
Yes.
We're not from the culture. We can't play savior. We can't have that complex. But the least we can do is, with whatever information is out there, we can try to be diligent about it, diligently use it, try to present it in the best way possible. You can do whatever after that. Know your ABCs before you construct your words and your sentences. That's pretty much what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Shruti, you're someone who's gone to Egypt, traveled to Egypt, learned, under local artists. So I would want to, because again, the audience that we'll have is the general dance audience.
Yeah.
So I would like you to, brief about the Egypt culture, you know, how even the locals there view belly dancing, and also how was the experience like for you? Training under the law, and what were the notions that you had in your mind, and it was all like, gone away once you, went there in person and took in all the experiences?
It's actually a very interesting question because the first time I went to Egypt was when I was 11. I was not a belly dance student back then. I had no idea about what I was going to witness. I knew I wanted to go see the pyramids and the mummies, as every child, every person is excited to see. So when I went there, I think the first thing that really, really hit me was, wow, so much culture. Just like India, like every nook and corner is filled with a story, some song, some culture. And heavily, driven by history. They have a very, very, very rich history, right? When you think about Egypt, that's one of the first things that you think about. The Egyptian civilization does not need an introduction. I think everybody tends to know how deep and how varied and how rich their civilization must have been back in the day. So they take a lot of pride with who they are, their culture, their history, their music, their food. The people were very friendly. I remember going there, and the first thing that they said when they saw us was, "Oh, Shah Rukh Khan, Amitabh Bachchan, Shah Rukh Khan, Amitabh Bachchan." I think they have such a relationship with India in the sense, big Bollywood fans. Cafes, you'd have, Amitabh Bachchan songs playing, or, you'd have posters of Shah Rukh Khan on the road.
Wow, okay.
And I was like, oh, okay. You don't really know how much of an impact a culture has on the other. But many people were very, very welcoming, very warm. I was particularly drawn in by the culture and the history. I think as a child, I've just been a history buff. which is how I think even my courses are sort of,
Yes.
tailored that way. There's a lot of information that comes. So that was one of the things that I noticed. Much later, once I started training and learning belly dance, when I went back, that was a different trip. That was for a completely different purpose. I went as a student of the Journey Through Egypt course, which was hosted by Sarah Kent. She has 5 levels, and I ended up doing 4 out of 5. I'm yet to do the last one. That really changed things for me, because when I went there, I realized there's so much that we don't see
Yes.
and know. It made me feel very small. Also, it was a very eye-opening experience, because I think when we think of belly dance, we think of one thing and one thing only. Like, you think of the bra and the skirt, you think of the movements associated with it, you think of Cairo. But Journey Through Egypt really opened my eyes and showed me that there was more to the dance than meets the eye. Like, it's not just belly dance, there's so much that surrounds it.
Ballerina's Closet brings you thoughtfully curated belly dance essentials, props like fan veils, hip scarves, training wear that move with you. Now available online at nkbellydance.com.
To begin with, I think when we started training, our knowledge was sort of limited to maybe the technique, the styles that revolved just around the classical or the Oriental formats. But when I went to Egypt, I realized that there is more to it musically. There's more to it historically that shapes a lot of the hows and the whys of what we do. Of course, folk dances were a big revelation for me. I think understanding the different dances that came from different regions. We apparently have 9 dance regions in Egypt, and each dance region has its own contribution that has in some way shaped belly dance, ultimately. So those things were very, very new. Of course, when I went there for the course, there were about 15 or 16 other people from different parts of the world who had come in, different levels of training. Some of them owned academies, some of them were professional entertainers. But when we got together, it was like everybody was on the same page. We were like, oh my God, really? There's so much that we don't know. And we also got to witness a lot of live performances and shows, which really turned things around for us, because in India, and I'm sure you know this, is we dance to a lot of pre-recorded music.
Right.
We dance to music that we can stop and pause and play anytime we want, right? And there's a culture that's very different in Egypt, where you dance to a lot of live music. You have to listen. If you don't listen, you can't dance. Here we have the luxury of stopping, playing, going back to it. There, if you miss a cue, you miss a cue. Like, it's like, okay, you need to instinctively, your body needs to know how to respond to the music. That was hard. That was really hard, because we actually had an activity one day where the director of that course, she opened up a 100-year-old theatre. This is where Tahia Carioca performed 100 years ago.
Whoa, okay.
For a group of people, like for her clientele. And it was a very old theatre, very old stage. You could see it, like the walls were chipping off and all of those things. Nothing was renovated. Those old school tables and chairs with, around the thing. And Reda Saad and his group of musicians. Again, a family who's had a legacy that goes beyond 80, 90 years. Like, they've all been musicians in the family. And we were dancing with the music that they were playing. And these guys have been, performing for the greats like Dina and, just any name that you can think about in Egypt. I froze. I was like, really? Because we were given no intimation, no warning, this is what was going to happen. We were just taken there, and they're like, yeah, if we had told you, you would have prepared. The point is, you need to dance like an Egyptian, which is no preparation, no thinking, only feeling and only listening to the music. So, I mean, they did give us 5 minutes to like, okay, do you have a song that you like? So all of us came up with our own tracks. You know, somebody said Alf Lela Walela, somebody said Lele Thob, all of those things. And you just about had 5 minutes to outline it with, you know, the group of musicians. And there's a language barrier. They are not too fluent with English. You're not, obviously not fluent with Arabic. So there was a lot of visual cue happening with the hands. He was like, and I'm just standing there. I'm like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do? And this was the first time I was dancing to a live band, and they were about 16 or 17 people. And I remember I picked Alf Lela Walela. It sounded very different. When they started playing it, the entrance was very different. And I freaked out because I was like, I've not heard this before. And then it hits you that the music that you actually listen to, the pre-recorded stuff, those are abridged versions. They are smaller versions of the actual song. And back then, I had absolutely no idea that the songs we were dancing to here were smaller versions. Like, there are bigger versions to it, right?
Right.
So all of those things changed a lot of, you know, the way I'd approach music, it changed that for me. But then when they started playing the bits that I actually knew, I was like, okay, I started to relax and ease out, and I had a good time. And that changed a lot for me. That experience of having danced to a live Egyptian band in a 100-year-old theater with the course director and the other people there. It was not a performance. We were just in our, you know, casuals, but we were moving to the music.
Oh, you weren't wearing a professional costume?
No, we weren't told about this thing at all. We were just taken there. And she was like, if I had told you guys, you would have prepared. And I don't want you to prepare. I want you to have the Egyptian experience of just, you know, listening. And we truly listened. You know, that day our bodies moved differently for everybody. And that changed a lot for me. Then we had this whole thing where we went to Kulthum's house. We went to a lot of places that were very significant in the development of belly dance. So, you know, when you start to see things out of the context, you start to have a lot more respect for what you do.
Yeah.
And that's what I really took back from that course, because it entirely shaped my journey after that. My dancing changed. My approach to training changed. My syllabus was largely based on what I saw, witnessed, and experienced in Egypt myself. And from that point on, it was just like, okay, more training. I have to study. I have to learn with, you know, local teachers. And that's when it really, really hit me, because I was like, okay, 2018, 2019 is when I started formally training with teachers online, even before the pandemic hit. But when the pandemic hit is when it really like went full throttle. So yeah, that's my Egypt story and my Egypt journey.
Wow. I think also because of you, the scene in our dance community completely changed. And, you know, you've been my teacher and I took up, you know, Reda courses under you. Honestly, before that, I really didn't know all this existed. And because of you, right now, we are able to learn the cultures, different cultures within the country of Egypt. And, you know, that's amazing. Like, and also we can, you know, gain a lot of similarities as well, because we also come from a place where every nook and corner, the culture changes, you know, the food changes, even the dance for that matter.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I want you to talk a little bit more about that, because when we look at belly dancing today, it's all like, you know, this is what Nora Fatehi does. This should be belly dancing. And I mean, okay, it's fine, you know, it's in a general way, but I would want you to really, you know, explain why it is really important for someone who is pursuing belly dancing, maybe for any kind of motive. It could be just for, like, say, fitness, or even if it's just, you know, you want to come and learn something, explore something, how, you know, it is important for you to understand the Egyptian culture as well, because that plays a part in your journey as well, in shaping you as a dancer.
Yeah, so see, that's again this comes down to a lot of personal a lot of people have personal goals when it comes to different styles of dance. Of course, Indian classical dances, I'm not just talking about Bharatanatyam, anybody who goes into that class is there for the long haul.
Right.
Right? Nobody goes there for fitness, no one goes there for short-term learning. And even if people do come out of it, it's because they've realized, okay, maybe, I don't have the time or the bandwidth to put in that kind of effort. With belly dance especially, I feel like because it is such a diverse subject, and like I said, it's a global product. Now it's the product of so many different cultures coming together, and it's constantly changing. Even as we speak right now, something else is going on in the background. But what I really think people can do to start with, if they've shown an interest in this style, is really, really do some research about, and this is so important, doesn't matter where you're from, find a good teacher, really. And it's not that difficult to now get on Google and be like, hey, belly dance classes in so and so place.
Right.
Find, not just finding an academy that has reviews or whatever, and not just blindly going by how many followers somebody has on Instagram and views. And I mean, like you said, we need a totally different episode for this. Doing your research on your teacher is very, very important. We have some really fantastic artists in India, absolutely mind-blowing artists. There's you, there is Devapriya, there is Payal, there's really doing some good research, figuring out what each academy has to offer that aligns with your own personal goals. Of course, if you're somebody who wants to dabble with, a completely different line of thought or a school of thought, you should. But for the ones who are definitely interested in pursuing, I'm going to speak only for myself, the ones who are interested in pursuing, let's say, the Oriental style or whatever, they have Reda, they have you to approach, they have Payal to approach, they have me. Really just do your research, figure out what each teacher has to offer. We take a lot of pride in saying that our folk module is very, very diverse. And that's in the recent time. Like in the last 4 or 5 years, we've really shaped it to become our USP. And that's only because of the constant upgrade in training we've had over the last 4 or 5 years. Like what I did for Hagala 2 years ago is now changed.
Yes.
Right? There's more to it because I had some time with Heba. I'm training with Ibrahim Dimos and Heba right now, who are from the Reda troupe, every Thursday. And it's like, okay, so the more we learn, the more we get to add, the more we get to share with the world. Do your research. If it doesn't align with your personal goals, really, that's okay. But at any given point in time, always acknowledge that this is a style that doesn't belong to you.
Yep.
Right? We don't have ownership over it. We can never have ownership over something that doesn't belong to us. But if you're representing it, might as well do it correctly, right?
Yeah.
So when I say correctly, there's a lot of information online. Read, go to your teachers. If you think that maybe another teacher has more information, don't be shy to ask another teacher, because we are such a connected community now. We are happy to share our students with each other. We are happy to see each other at events. It's not that one size fits all approach where you're like, oh, you need to train with one teacher. No. None of us are like that, right? Be sure of what you want. And how can you be sure of what you want is once you've actually discovered something about it. Okay, this is what I like. Oh, this seems interesting. Research is key. Also, having that beginner's mindset is so important. I feel like somewhere along the way, when students start coming in, and you've achieved something, let's say you've gone and you've done a show somewhere, it's like, okay, now I'm at the intermediate level, now I'm at the advanced level, what next? Yeah. That's good, but it's not great, because it puts you in a spot where you're like, okay, I feel like I know everything, that's it, I'm going to take this material and I'm going to do something with it. That's fine. Again, personal goals need to align. But again, if you want to represent something honestly, I won't say authentically, none of us can be authentic. nobody here is authentic in India because we are not from the culture.
Yes.
But if you want to try to represent it honestly, even to a 90% whatever, train. Continue to train. Be open with, how much more you need to learn, how much more you have to go. And I think that automatically makes your journey more exciting because you're like, okay, next year we'll be doing this, next year we'll be doing that, or we have more to do. There's that passion in your eyes and stuff. But I get that it's not everybody's cup of tea. I get that people are busy, married, have jobs, have kids. Our generation was a little different. I think when we got in, we were like, okay, we want to do something with it, which is different because the social fabric has now changed. But yeah, I think that's what I think. Yeah.
I think I really believe that you added the definition in our community, in our belly dancing, by bringing in, the cultural dances, even the Reda style format, and even golden era.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was someone who didn't know about all of this until when I met you, when I saw your work, and when I started training under you as well. So how, when you initiated that, what went through your mind? Did you think that, we could take it with open hands and like learn, or we would be curious, or what was the initial thought that went into your mind when you also organized Lelath Reda, which was one of the most beautiful and the hit productions.
Thank you.
And also you received an honor that you have been the 13th ambassador representing Reda style. So how has this journey been for you?
Honestly, it's been a very, very humbling experience. In not in a bad way, in a good way. I feel like even with things like this, it just makes you realize how much more you have left, because now you have a bigger responsibility. Now people are like, oh, she knows something, so she better be putting up something different the next year. So that keeps adding on. When I first started doing the golden era, which was something that I did before the Reda thing, golden era was around the time I went to Egypt, and when I started really learning about different people who shaped the dance form and how big some of these people actually were, and how people still cite them and quote them in Egypt, right? That's when I actually started doing a little more of my research. And with the golden era, it's more observational. You don't have teachers who go out of the way to teach you that style. You do have one or two now who really stand out, but back then it was mostly like go back, watch videos, take down notes. It's very observational training. So I was mostly self-taught in that style. Then we had a lot of teachers coming up and making it an actual thing to learn. But when we started doing it in India, it was 2016, 2017. That was new.
Yes.
And I was mostly doing it for myself. I was just like, okay, I want to try something different. It really aligned with the style that I liked, which is on the softer, more graceful variant of belly dance. I've never really been the kind of person who was like, okay, let's do a drum solo, like, I mean, I think I've always...
that was a thing then, right?
Yeah.
Your performance really set it apart. Like, we were like, oh wow, we never knew this style existed, because again, it was under limitations. Like I said, you truly brought in all those variations, and now we know of it.
And truly with like no expectations at all, because I just came in and I'm like, okay, I think I want to do this for myself. But it was received so well, like the first time I did a golden era piece was for Payal's event, I believe. I don't remember which year, 2016 I think. And people are like, oh, this looks different. That was the first thing I heard. This looks different. Like, it's the same language, same belly dance technique, but it looks different. There's something different about it. I remember doing a tribute to Naima Akif. And then it just started from there. It started snowballing from there, because I was like, okay. Then I started doing Samia Gamal, and then I started doing Tahia Karaoke, and then I was like, okay, the response is different each time. And then it went on to become a full-fledged course 3 years later in 2016 to 2019. So the journey for me with Golden Era was, the learning period was for about 3.5 years. So by the time I hit 2019 and shaped that course, the next thing I knew, there were a lot of people who signed up and they're like, we want to learn this because this is new, this is novel. And people were so taken by the idea of doing something new back then. And I was just like, okay, let's see how it goes. But at the end of it, we had about 54 people for Vintage Lounge, which became one of our biggest productions back then. And I was just like, okay, this is a great response.
Yes.
Because now you have 50 or 54 people who know the Golden Era, who at least have an awareness of what it is. And then from there, I started seeing people, going back to their course material or going back to studying the Golden Era and incorporating it in their own dancing. Their dancing started to shift. And for me, that was like, wow, this somewhere this has helped them. Somewhere this has grown into something big. And that was around the same time I started dabbling with the Reda technique as well. That was when I went to Spain once with my family. I just by chance walked into a class where there was a belly dance teacher who was training, who was doing Reda technique. So when I walked in, that was the day she was teaching it. And it was a long holiday and I was like, okay, I want to do classes. So that's where it began for me. My teacher was Maria Martinez. She is a second generation Reda troupe performer.
Wow.
Yeah.
And she's a European?
She's a European.
Okay.
She's Spanish and she lived in Cairo for about 19 or 20 years where she worked with the Reda troupe.
Oh.
And my journey started with her in Spain in 2018. That's where I studied Muashahat for the first time. And I was like, what is this now? Like there is so much going on. And I'm like, what is this? I had absolutely no idea of what that was. And she introduced me to that world, to that concept, to the story of Reda. And I was very like, oh, okay. And my training with her started. So I had about 250 hours of training with Maria Martinez. And my Muashahat journey started with her. And then I dabbled into a full-blown Reda course with the Reda troupe. So that's how I started doing it in India.
When I signed up for, Reda courses under you, again, honestly, I didn't know there was Nubian that existed. Hagala was just a technique, like a step in our repertoire. I didn't know it was a dance altogether.
Yeah.
So it really opened eyes for me. I'm like, wow. I mean, they're so like vibrant as well with their costumes. And I think it's, again, it should become mandatory for any dancer pursuing, belly dancing to, even if you just want to, just that curiosity, okay, it comes from this region, I want to learn more about their, culture.
Yeah.
So I think, that's very, very important. Literally, it opened doors for me, and now, like, I'm really looking forward to learning more under you. So, yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, the Reda thing, even now, we have a course that's happening in parallel every weekend. It's new because I think over the last 2 years, I mean, since the time we staged Lalit Reda together, from that period, there's been more training. So now this course has a lot more material, that's shaping it. We're doing Siwa dances this time from the Siwa region. We are doing a different set of Suezi dances. So it's like there's more information going out, and the students are honestly like, whoa, like with each module that's coming out, they're like,
there's
whoa.
a revelation.
There's a revelation, right? And that is exciting in its own way, because not just for me, I think even for the students, right? Because they're like, oh, what's next? What's next? So it's interesting, and it's very nice to see that change with the community now. That's, people are getting more curious. People are becoming more open. Nothing wrong with doing what you're doing already. Keep it.
Yes.
But add to it, right? Like, then see if you like it or don't like it. Then it's up to you, right?
Yeah.
but I just absolutely love the fact that the community is really opening up right now. I know you went to Poland and you did a Hagala performance
Yes.
there too, and that was really wonderful to see, you know, because it's like, okay, so whatever we're doing is now making that
Yeah.
impact where it has to make that impact, and I think that's what matters at the
Yeah.
end of the day. So
You would like to talk about the upcoming courses of yours. Even
Yeah.
you can talk about the Reda courses that you're offering as well.
yeah. So with our course content at the moment, we are definitely focused on the Remembering Mahmood Reda course, which is it's an ongoing course. We've already completed about 3 modules within the course. We have about 5 more to go. And the last time we had a course that was similar, the Colors of Egypt course, which you were a part of, that culminated in a big production, Lalit Reda, which is how we ended up getting the ambassadorship in the first place. And there's a process to this. If you want to renew the ambassadorship, you need to continue to work with the Reda troupe. You need to continue to learn. You need to continue to stage, whatever is being taught to you. So that's part of the protocol. And as part of, my ambassadorship has to be renewed in 2026. So as a part of that, we are restaging Lalit Reda, but it's going to be a part 2. And we are going to have many more styles that we didn't do the first time around. We're going to have that now. More students. And it is one of the courses that I'm going to continue to offer going ahead. Like, this is something that I think will keep happening over time. I don't see myself stopping in the long term. We are going to have a golden era course coming up in the next year. So that is something that is definitely in the pipeline for anybody who is a golden era enthusiast. I am bringing it back because it's something that I've really enjoyed doing and teaching over a period of time. I don't want to shelve it. I want to bring it back. And we've recently just found our interests and our voice with fusion, just recently. I mean, it's not something that we're looking at expanding into a full-blown course or module, but we had a show yesterday called Nostalgia, and
which was, by the way, super duper hit. And I got to be a part of it. It was such an honor, but really loved it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And it was such an honor to have you as well, because you are doing some fantastic work. I am a huge fan. I have always been a huge fan of you, your dancing, your personality, your grace, anything you do. I'm like, oh my God, Nikita fan right here.
You're my inspiration. So thank you.
Thank you. So yes, we've just discovered that, okay, we have a liking for fusion, but in a way that's our voice. We are trying to do something that's going to still drive the Samai Oriental Dance Company voice, but through fusion performances. So maybe like our own format, and maybe blowing it up into Nostalgia Part 2 the next year.
Very soon. Coming very soon.
Very soon. Yes. But this is what we have in the pipeline. A couple of really interesting things,
I think I really want to encourage every Bangalorean to come watch Lalit Reda production as well whenever it's coming out, because totally it's going to be an eye opener. You would have never seen this kind of show anywhere else. So please, whenever this is coming up, please do make time and come and watch the show.
Oh, thank you. It's happening in May.
Yes, it's May 2026.
May 2026.
Yes. I will put down all the links, and how can we reach out to you, for classes, for any upcoming shows?
So we have our Instagram page, which is the Samai Oriental Dance Company page. You can get in touch with me and my instructors. We have 4 instructors, Upasana, Anjum, Rajashri and Swati. We're all available on the Instagram page. You can contact us there. We also have our website, which is www.samaiorientaldancecompany.org, not .com, org. So we are available on both platforms at all times. And of course, my personal page as well, which I think Nikita will
I will put down the links in the description as well.
Yeah. Yes.
It was lovely talking to you, Shruti.
And you,
I'm
Nikki.
so mesmerized by your journey,
Thank you so much.
I
Thank
wish
you.
you the very best. Continue to, keep educating us more,
Thank you.
and I will always be looking forward to learning under you. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you so much for having
Thank
me,
you.
Nikki.
Thanks for tuning into Dancing Dialogues with Nikita Krishnan. I truly hope that this episode was educational, inspirational, and you could take something out of it. If you loved the episode, don't forget to share and subscribe and share your thoughts in the comment section. Until then, keep dancing and stay inspired.